Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. Welcome in. Get myself sorted out here still. Okay, there we are. Welcome in, everybody. Hello. Good to see you. Upgrade 2.0. Yes, Betharoni, we're going to continue on with Harvard. So I had just started it during my last live, and I thought, well, let's do another little chunk here of it because it's just a crazy situation. So let me get the name of the case down here. And fellows, I have been posting short eclipses, clips of the letter. I still have actually two more, I think, so I've not gotten them all up yet. My editing takes me a little bit of time. So those will be coming up still, so everyone can have a chance to hear that horror, that nightmare. And I think I've been calling this just Health and Human Services rather than the whole group. So we'll just put that there. Hello, yes, got the shinies on tonight. I needed a little shiny. It was a toss up. It was between the shinies or the cows. And the shinies won. Maybe I'll do the cows tomorrow. We'll see. Sometimes you just gotta have some happy things, right? So hopefully it's been, oh my gosh, what a weird day today. It's been an odd day. I think we're hoping anytime things don't happen, that's good. No news is good news right now. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Oh, beautiful. Oh, Abuelita, thank you so much. That's so sweet. I appreciate it. So yes, I have, for anyone who's wondering, updates on the Abrego Garcia case or the JGG case, even the AARP case, which is like a group of people, not the organization. No, there's been no movement on any of those cases, and I double checked just before I came on tonight. So we are just in the same spot where we were before. Nothing new has come down. There have been a couple of cases where we've had appeals go on over the last day or so regarding preliminary injunctions. Like I know the Radio Asia lawsuit just had an injunction agreed upon, and then we had a couple more that were government funding freezes, and so those injunctions are being appealed to the Court of Appeals by the defendants, of course. So those have been going on, but we don't have any huge stuff going on quite yet. Any news on the milk? Oh my gosh, everybody, the milk. No, I have not heard anything, and I've not seen any lawsuits filed today either. As of this moment, I'm not saying there weren't, but I might find them later tomorrow. But oh my gosh, talk about, oh my goodness gracious, that's just a nightmare. Nightmare, everybody, nightmare. Be careful about the milk, everyone. Be careful about the milk right now because, yeah, there's trouble. There's trouble, I tell you. Coffee Cat, hello, welcome. Wait, yeah, so Thomas, yeah. So they have stopped the regulations or stopped the people who were checking the milk standards. I don't know exactly the science of what their roles were, but in order to ensure milk safety, those people, I guess, are fired or they've been reduced. The testing part, thank you so much. The testing part, those have now been, okay, FDA has stopped. So they're not checking it. So, what's on the shelves from maybe 2 weeks ago, I mean, that's like the last time they probably checked. Yeah, it's bad. I don't know exactly the reason why. I've not really followed up. But now that you're talking about it, I want to follow up. Let me make a note. Check on the milk. Check on the milk situation. I don't drink milk, so it doesn't really affect my family much. But yeah, we gotta take a look at that. Have their own standards of testing also, so please check Right, right. And that's a really good point too, because a lot of the bigger places do. They have checks already in place because even without the federal government checking it, you could still get sick and companies can get sued. So it's in their best interest to have checks in place. But, in the US, we have so many more things that are allowed than other areas of the world. And so we really need extra checks in place to make sure everything's okay. And that's very important. So without them, I'm wondering too if those companies then are, increasing their checks or not. I mean, maybe because it's going to be expensive. They're going to have to do it themselves that way. Yeah, I know. It's pretty disturbing. Some pretty disturbing stuff going on. But I will check into the milk situation. I've been watching just clips of people getting sick from the milk, so I had to turn that off because that was too much. Right, exactly. At lunch, right? Who's drinking milk at lunch? Everybody. Exactly. Well, hello, Lex. Good to see you. Welcome in. Yes, happy Monday. Oh my gosh, I hate Mondays, everybody, but it's okay. Monday has come and it's almost gone, so we'll be all right. Dr. Rubin did a video on it, something about buying ultra pasteurized. Ooh, very interesting. Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, for what it's worth, FDA statement, grade A milk isn't affected, but reality says otherwise. Yeah, I mean, all bets are off right now. I think you probably had seen, was it Under the Desk News, who just did a post on CASA and defunding CASA because they thought it was a different CASA. I think it was V. Anyway, it's crazy. These, we just don't know anymore if they're doing stuff on purpose or they're just absolutely, idiots. So it's like Pez like the candy. Oh my gosh, memories. Oh, she did do a post. Okay, great. Thanks, Angie. I appreciate that. Yeah, hop on over to the Under the Desk News. Oh my gosh, they do such a great job. And the video that was put together is just really, really good and pulls out the pieces of what's happened. And at the end of the post, you're just like, all right, here's another one. I know, right? I know it gets a little bit wonky here. So for tonight, I had wanted to come on last night. It just didn't happen, but that's kind of how I go. I give my dates and times as best as I can. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. I am planning to be over on the tube tomorrow, though. I should have all of my tech back up and running, so I will be over there tomorrow at about this time. But for tonight, I thought we would pick up on the Harvard case. I've been doing a few posts today on it, and this is the lawsuit where the federal government sent a demand letter to Harvard and said, we need you to do all of these things. And if you don't, we're not going to cut you a check for the money that Congress said you could have. And then, which is like billions of dollars. Thank you for, oh yes, I'm happy to help. Hopefully this clarifies things for people. Sometimes people can get more confused. And so I always hate to leave anyone in that position, but hopefully it's interesting. But Exhibit A was a letter, and again, this lawsuit was filed on the 21st, so not that long ago, although it feels like April's been like 2 years, doesn't it? Like it's the 28th. It's only been a week since this has been filed, but it feels like years. Anyway, they sent out this letter setting out all of these changes that they wanted done to who they hire, what students they accept, what classes are okay, what to do about international students, putting people on different, federal registries so that they would have groups of names of people and different reporting requirements, and it's pretty awful. So this is what I have been posting about today in just a couple of minute segments. I still have a couple more posts to do on that, but this is the letter included with the petition. So this petition that we have already started here set out in the beginning, the introduction piece stating like, wow, you know, what you're asking us to do is way beyond the scope of the First Amendment and our constitutional rights. Now, Harvard is a private entity, but does have taxpayer money. I've had several people comment on YouTube like, oh, why do they get taxpayer money? Well, because they like invent stuff, and there's like the science and technology and inventions and all that kind of stuff. And so, and that benefits everybody, right? And I think I commented back on the tube. I said, well, you know, what about baking powder? You can thank Harvard for that. And then the person who wasn't very happy about the tax dollars was like, well, that was like 100 years ago. Who cares? I'm like, are you serious? Well, I care. I care about baking powder, okay? I think that's important. Yes, many schools. This is, of course, the flagship case. Many schools. There are many schools being discussed throughout the complaint and going forward in filing. We have multiple lawsuits, even separate lawsuits, but this is the flagship case. And, you know, Harvard tends to take the lead in a lot of things. And so litigation is not surprising that they are taking the lead there. Good point. Bruce Wayne's mother, always an excellent point. Always an excellent point. So let me go ahead and get us dived back in. Here's my sticky note here. This is the complaint that I'm reading through. And we had made it to about the, let me make sure here. Yep, about the middle of page 6 the last time, because we'd spent some time on the exhibits, which I think is actually really helpful to look through the exhibits as we're looking through the complaint. So we'll pick up where we left off here and go through, again, kind of like the highlights, but these first few sections are just incredibly informative to let you know kind of what's going on in the lawsuit. So with that, I'm grabbing my tea, everybody. All right, I'm lying. It's Tang. It's Tang again. Some nights are just a Tang night, everyone. So if you want the case, this is it right here. You can pull it up. This is document number 1-1. I know. I can't help it. It's my, I don't know. It's, I know. I know it's not good for you, but I just can't help it. It's my vice. Is drinking Tang. Heck yeah, they make Tang. Heck yeah, they do. I don't know how I'd be making it through this. Administration without Tang, man. Oh my gosh. Oh yes. So, all right, here we go. Before we just kind of set out the introduction here, and the legal standard, let's go into who the parties are in this lawsuit. Now, also, moderators are up and running, so please be respectful in the comments so that the moderators can actually listen also and not just go after the trolls. This is, I do informative lives rather than debates, so I'm not really here to debate anybody. I'm just here to share information. All right, number 14, this paragraph 14, page 6 is where we're starting, and here's the file, and you can pull the document. Plaintiff President and Fellows of Harvard College is a nonprofit corporation commonly known as Harvard University. Harvard is a private research university and the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States. It provides undergraduate and graduate instruction to more than 24,000 enrolled students annually across 13 schools, and it produces cutting-edge research in fields such as oncology, epidemiology, biotechnology, and many other. Advancements at Harvard have made Americans healthier and safer, increased our knowledge of the world, and made our nation more secure. Number 15, a defendant, United States Department of Health and Human Services, including all the sub-agencies over which HHS exercises legal control, is an executive department of the United States. The National Institute of Health is an agency within HHS. Defendant Robert Kennedy Jr. is the secretary and head of the defendant HHS. He is sued in his official capacity. Defendant United States Department of Justice, DOJ, including all subcategories over which DOJ exercises legal control, is an executive department of the United States. So I will leapfrog over just to let you know who the secretaries are that are included. So we have Pamela Bondi, Linda McMahon, I'm always going to say her name wrong, Stephen Ekian, maybe Ahikian, well, there we go, Christopher Wright. So this is the U.S. Department of Energy, the Secretary of the, here, Administrator of the General Services, the Department of Education. Oh my goodness. That could have gone better for everybody, but that's fine. Here we have Defendant Sethuraman Panchanathan. That's an amazing name. I don't know who that is, but that name's amazing. And here's his position in the National Science Foundation. Here we go. DOD has Hegseth. I think we all know who that guy is. Also known as AKA Signal Man. I'll just put that there so I don't forget. So I can chuckle later. All right, then we have National Aeronautics and Space Administration. I didn't know that that was the acronym for NASA, but learn something new every day, right? And then the administrator for that is Janet Petro. So those are the defendants. Okay, so, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. All right, jurisdiction and venue. This court has subject matter jurisdiction under 28 U.S. Code Section 133 because this civil action arises under the Constitution of the United States and federal statutes, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, as amended here. The court's authorized to award the requested relief under multiple sections of the code and through the equitable powers of this court. So this is where we have this discussion on, well, what about Article 3 courts? Those are our federal courts. Harvard does not seek money damages or an order mandating specific performance of any contract. Ooh, that's interesting. Instead, it seeks an order declaring unlawful and setting aside sweeping agency action taken in violation of Harvard's constitutional rights under the First Amendment and its rights guaranteed by statute and regulation. Therefore, this court has jurisdiction over Harvard's claims. So that's very interesting. They're not asking for money and they're not asking for their contracts to be validated. What they want is clarification on whether or not this is something that's allowable by the executive branch. Venue is proper in this district under the law because defendants and agents are agencies in the United States, officers of the United States acting in their official capacities, and substantial part of the events or omissions giving rise to the claims occurred in this district. Plaintiff resides in this district and no real property is involved. Now we have jurisdiction and venue set out. I'm hoping everybody can see the chat okay. It looks fine on my end, but just let me know if we need to move it. All right, background. Here we go. Federally funded research at Harvard University. And just keep in mind, this goes for anywhere that we have federally funded research. Harvard University is the oldest institution of higher learning in the United States and one of the world's leading research universities. For decades, universities like Harvard have conducted research identified by the federal government as essential to advancing the boundaries of human knowledge and improving the lives of Americans. While this partnership traces back to our country's founding, the partnership between the government and universities grew stronger during and after the Second World War, as the government increasingly recognized that the universities can help achieve scientific and technological advances that benefit the public. And they're probably talking about, I don't want to, give a spoiler here, but Harvard had a lot to do with the kind of computer pieces that were involved in World War II. So Footnote 7 here for the citation. Federal funding for university research serves as a cornerstone of the American research system. It is an essential resource for the groundbreaking discoveries made today by Harvard's faculty and staff, leading not only to scientific advancements and innovation, but also to the country's economic growth, which we could use a little of right now, right? Today, Harvard's federally funded research includes particular strengths in oncology, immunology, neuroscience, molecular biology, genomics, quantum science, and other areas of technology that support our national economy and defense. Harvard's researchers, in collaboration with the federal government, have pioneered groundbreaking innovations that make millions of people in our country healthier and safer across a wide range of medical, engineering, scientific, and other fields. Their research includes, for example, so this, let's see, I don't know, moderators or just show of hands. Would you like me to go through the examples here of some of the things Harvard's working on for their research, or should we skip ahead further into the case? Let me know what you think. So do yes, and we'll go through what they've done, or no, we can kind of skip it. I'll just take a look here into we don't have to be so formal with a poll. I mean, that's all, okay? Yes, skip, yes, yes, and a yes. Okay, looks like the yeses are winning here. Okay, I've gathered a small enough, okay. I've got a pool now. So we'll go ahead and I'll go through these. It doesn't really take much time. It's a page and a half here. Let's get to the juice. Oh my goodness. We'll get there quick. We'll get there. All right. So let's take a look and see where the tax dollars are going, right? Cancer research. Harvard's cancer research includes identifying mechanisms that drive disease development at all stages, including tumor metastasis. I'm sorry, I can never say that word right. Developing new therapeutic approaches with the goal of preventing, targeting, and suppressing cancer at every stage. Mapping the metabolic signaling pathways that drive the association of cancer with other diseases to restore proper cellular function and enhance prevention. And developing a new machine learning method to model the behavior of all 25,000 human genes. That's a lot as they respond to high-intensity treatments like chemotherapy, which the National Cancer Institute cited as an advancement in basic cancer research that will lay the groundwork for future clinical breakthroughs. Okay, Metastasis? I'm putting the emphasis, I think, on the wrong syllable, but thank you. Infectious disease research. Harvard researchers study infectious diseases to better understand and address the global threat of multi-drug resistant infections, develop new tools for global pandemic prevention. That's helpful. Discover new therapeutic antibodies and small molecules to treat or cure viral diseases, and develop enhanced approaches to monitor disease outbreaks and to predict patterns of spread. That's pretty good. Microbiome research. FYI, I'm not a scientist. I'll tell you that just right now. I don't know what any of this stuff means, but it's here. It's in the paperwork. Harvard's microbiome research includes developing new frontiers in precision medicine that can help individuals reduce their risk of cancer and other diseases by better understanding and leveraging our body's relationship with a multitude of bacteria and other microorganisms that contribute to human health and disease. That sounds helpful. Toxin reduction research. Harvard's toxin reduction research includes studying the harm from microplastics on certain kinds of counts of things and fertility. I'll get this live taken down, everybody, I promise, if I'm not careful here. And developing life-saving guidance for those exposed to high levels of toxins, including firefighters, individuals working in the environments with high exposure potentials, for example, members of the military, miners, and chemical factory workers, and children in rural communities. Neurological research. Harvard's neurological research includes identifying numerous modifiable risk factors for Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and other neurological diseases, including conditions that are generally age-related, such as Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia and stroke, which creates the potential to significantly cut disease incidence and reduce healthcare costs. Thank you so much for that, everybody. I see them as they come across the screen, and I'm so thankful for it. Other research involves efforts to better understand the role of infections in seeding neurodegenerative disorders, with important implications for prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, and other research involving studying the long-term neurologic effects of radiation and chemotherapy-based treatment on young children who survived cancer, and identifying treatments to improve outcomes that also reduce the impact of therapy-related collateral damage, which is also relevant to adult cancer survivors. All right. Biotechnology. Harvard's biotechnology research includes studying how space flight, including space-related radiation, affects blood cell formations in astronauts on the upcoming space station and Artemis missions. That research is also developing a new class of anesthetics that could lead to breakthroughs in the care of wounded service members in the field that would obviate the need for trained anesthesiologists or hospitalization. A break for tea here. And it is advancing, I really don't know what this is. Advancing organ chip technology to further understanding of, among other things, illnesses and injuries that result from high doses of radiation. I'm not sure. Anytime this is included in anything, people get worried, and I can understand that. Technological innovation. Additional research at Harvard supports innovations in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Like, when they're saying machine learning, I'm pausing for a minute, everybody. Does that mean like the robots that put the cars together? Is that what they're talking about? I'm just curious, because this is really, really way outside of my wheelhouse. Is that the machine learning? Is that, right? That's what we're talking about, like the machines that do stuff and they like learn. Okay, no, that's not it. Okay, well, no, thank goodness, because I was starting to freak out a little bit. It's AI, okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad I asked. I don't know that I'd be able to get to sleep tonight. All right. Good to know. Oh my gosh. Okay, AI that can learn. I'm still terrified, but not as terrified. I'm like, are those things putting the tires on? Are they just going to like rise up? Yeah, I've seen too many movies. All right, AI system school. Okay, excellent. Monitor. Okay. Right. Oh my gosh, thank you, everybody. Right, learning from training data. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Coffee Cat. I appreciate that. I just have no idea, so I thought I would ask. Oh my gosh, you can't know everything all the time, everybody, right? All right, well, let's move forward. Nanomaterials, microchip design, biomechanics, chemical engineering, next generation batteries, computer science, smart living environments for the elderly, and more. No, don't come back, Krista. No. All right, other military advancements in national security. Here's our last one, and then we'll dive back in here. Harvard also dedicates research to reducing the short and long-term consequences of traumatic battlefield-related injuries, developing soft robotics for enhancing battlefield performance. All right, creating compact and rapidly deployable foldable bridges. All right, that sounds all right. And because better than rope ladder, right? And other structures for military use, developing radiation countermeasures and limb regeneration. Oh my goodness gracious. I really need to catch up on what's going on in the science. and developing hack-resistant computer networks, rapid infectious agents, diagnostics, and ways to combat antibiotic resistance. Well, you got to trade knowledge, everybody. That's why we got to share. Share our knowledge. All right, well, that was slightly scary, but I'm going to just block it from my mind now. Here we go, move forward. On to the rest of the complaint here. Oh my gosh. Federal funding for university research typically flows through a grant process administered by federal agencies. And they're setting out the code section here, authorizing the NIH to make grants and aid to universities for research support. As NIH explains, it's the largest public funder of biomedical research in the world, investing most of its nearly $48 billion budget in medical research, seeking to enhance life and reduce illness and disability. So are they trying to get that $48 billion? Is that what the administration's doing? Are they after that? To be able to say, "Ooh, we just saved you $48 billion by pulling it from all the medical research?" That's like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. And then they're citing here, through the appropriations process, Congress establishes the annual budgets for the research-focused federal agencies like NIH, NSF, NASA, and other funds and others that fund university research here. And that's their job as Congress, right? These appropriations directly determine how much money is available to universities and other research institutions for research grants that are most often awarded on a competitive basis. Pursuant to Congress's directives, the federal government fuels critical research at Harvard, which is one of the nation's leading recipients of NIH grants, along with investments by the universities themselves. These grants secure the funding necessary to pursue biomedical research and other research endeavors across the university. Numerous Harvard professors, including Nobel laureates, rely on NIH and other federal funding for their work. Here's our citation. Federally funded research at Harvard has led to life-altering advancements in improving cancer diagnosis. Citation. It supports brain supports brain health and trauma research for veterans. And again, all of the citations are down here. And federal funding has supported projects focused on understanding neurodegenerative disease and creating a new class of antibiotics to treat infections. Here, it has also enabled Harvard researchers to study how space flight affects blood vessels formation, affects blood cell formation in astronauts and upcoming missions. Number 13. I mean, that's important for Space Force, right? It seems like that should be, taken to the front of the line. Harvard's research programs, funded in part by defendants, serve as training grounds for the next generation of scientific, technological, medical, and public health leaders, with grants supporting the work of thousands of graduate students and postdoctoral fellows. All right. Right, I'm not sure who's got the lupus on the on their research docket. I'm not sure. It's a good question. All right, Title VI and federal financial assistance. So Title VI provides that no person in the United States shall, on the ground of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Right, and this is where the administration had tossed out and said, well, you are not complying with that piece of the law. That's why we are justified in freezing your funds. So they're coming in and explaining what Title VI is. It permits an agency under detailed conditions to enforce this substantive provision by terminating or suspending federal financial assistance. If an agency wants to freeze federal financial assistance to universities based on alleged civil rights violations under Title VI, then it must follow a detailed and mandatory statutory framework. The Supreme Court has referred to these procedural limits as elaborate restrictions on agency enforcement. So here's the standard. We've got it just right out of the gate here. This is the standard that should have been used in order for them to freeze funds, rather than sending them a letter and then telling the Department of Treasury to hold the check. There's actually a process that needs to be done. Same with when you're removing people off of federal boards. There has to be a process followed, and that process was not followed here. And that's pretty significant. No action to terminate or refuse to grant or continue federal financial assistance may be taken until the department or agency concerned has advised the appropriate person or persons of the failure to comply with the requirement and has determined that compliance cannot be secured by voluntary means. And then we've got federal code along with case law. Quoting case law, the underlying thrust of the statute requires that the agency involved attempt at the outset to secure compliance by voluntary means, if such method is reasonably possible. This course involves negotiation, and negotiation takes time. So I think probably the best example I could give you here would be the National Archives, right? So when the National Archives went to Mr. Trump when he was in Florida and said, can we have our documents back? And he said, no. They were obligated to sit down and try to negotiate and be like, well, here's the law. This is why we need this stuff. And, you need to give it to us, or else, unfortunately, we're going to have to call the cops. And so Mr. Trump was like, no, I'm not doing any of that. And I don't know you people, so get out. So then NARA had to go back, and then they had to get search warrants, and then they found all the classified documents in the bathroom. All right. So this is the same thing. This is basically the Florida documents situation here. All right. It all comes together, everybody. It all comes back together. If the agency determines that the voluntary compliance is not possible, then it must initiate formal proceedings, specifically a hearing, and must make express findings on the record before terminating or refusing to grant or to continue federal financial assistance. So again, we have a code here. This is the law that needs to be complied with, and it was not. The agency head must file a full written report of the circumstances and the grounds for each action with the relevant committees in the House and the Senate. And that's another thing too. In the letter, we've got a 6-page letter. That's all we've got. We've got some, discussions kind of back and forth, but we certainly don't have anything at the level of talking to House and Senate committees. We certainly don't have that going on. Further, the action does not become effective until 30 days have elapsed after the filing of such report. And as a friendly reminder, that letter to Harvard was sent or received April 11th. So that certainly is not 30 days. So we've got some pretty big procedural law violations here. The agency defendants' regulations layer on top of the statutory text here provide additional details on procedural requirements for any termination or refusal to grant or to continue federal financial assistance based on Title VI. So any of those kinds of discrimination or civil rights questions, all right? Defendants know and are capable of following these mandatory procedural steps. On the very same day as the April 11th letter, DOJ's Civil Rights Division sent Harvard a letter announcing that it was commencing a compliance review investigation of Harvard University, specifically Harvard Medical School, pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And noting that, quote, if we conclude Harvard University is violating Title VI, we will inform you and work with you to secure compliance by informal voluntary means, which is completely opposite of what they had actually done. All right, that's not right at all. Here, and they're saying we're not going to be able to do this. We're not going to comfort you. We're going to try to help you. The university's response to anti-isms here, I'm not going to say that full word again, everyone, on Harvard's campus, all right? On August 7th of 2023, the T organization conducted a surprise attack on I citizens, unaliving and harming thousands of I people and Americans and taking more than 240 people hostage. This began an ongoing war between I and H. The escalating conflict in this area of the world dominated headlines around the globe. In the United States, protests erupted on university campuses across the country. Like other schools, Harvard experienced increased tension among members of its campus communities, including students. Members of the Jewish and I communities at Harvard reported treatment that was vicious and reprehensible. Harvard had made policy and other changes over the last year aimed at ensuring its campus is safe, fair, and welcoming to Jewish and I students. Harvard has adopted new accountability procedures and clarified policies, imposed meaningful discipline for those who violate applicable policies, enhanced program design to address bias and promote ideological diversity and civil discourse, hired staff to support these programs and support students, and enhance safety and security measures. In January of 2024, then interim President Garber and the deans of Harvard schools issued guidance on protest and dissent under university-wide statement on rights and responsibilities. This guidance made clear that protests are not permitted in classrooms, libraries, dormitories, dining halls, Harvard offices, or other places where they would interfere with the normal activities of the university. It also reiterated that protests may not interfere with the free flow of vehicular, bicycle, and pedestrian traffic on campus. Okay, because again, that was one of the reasons why they said in the letter that all these changes had to be made, was specifically because of this situation. All right, in August of 2024, Harvard issued updated information on the rules for use of campus spaces. Again, each of these footnotes is a citation down here. Sometimes in decisions, we'll have big gems down in the footnotes of the decisions, but as a complaint, it's just going to be references, which expressly prohibit, among other things, structures such as tents, unauthorized exhibits and displays, and excessive noise. In September of 2024, Harvard released guidance explaining that online doxing violates the university's prohibition on intense personal harassment and constitutes bullying under its non-discrimination and anti-bullying policies. In November of 2024, Harvard issued a frequently asked questions statement on protests in libraries, explaining how its protest and dissent guidelines found in the university-wide statement on rights and responsibilities apply to protests in Harvard's libraries. The facts underscore that when a library space is used to express a shared message, even if the participants are silent, the demonstration interferes with the room's purpose as a place of study and research and violates university policies. Harvard has also made changes to clarify the scope of prohibited conduct aimed at Jewish and I students. Again, I'm just being careful of certain words that I know have been triggers for other lives to be pulled down. In January 2025, Harvard committed to take account of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-S here in its anti-harassment policies and disciplinary proceedings. The United States, as a member of IHRA, uses this definition and has encouraged other governmental and international organizations to use it. Harvard is one of only a few universities to have adopted the IHRA's definition. In March of 2025, Harvard released updated facts clarifying that both Jewish and I identities are covered by the university's non-discrimination and anti-bullying policies, that the IHRA definition of this badness will be used and that the IHRA examples will be considered in assessing incidents. The guidance also made clear that the non-discrimination policy applies to conduct targeting Zionists. Hopefully that word will be okay. I'm pausing for a moment. Are we still here? Okay. Harvard has taken action to enforce these policies in response to campus incidents in the current academic year. During the fall of 2024 semester, Harvard suspended library access for dozens of students and faculty members who violated university policies in connection with protests in Harvard's college, law school, and divinity school libraries. In March of 2025, Harvard terminated a university employee who tore down posters which showed images of awful things that they felt needed to be shown on the posters in violation of Harvard's policy against tampering with or removing approved displays. So if you get your display approved, don't tear it down because that's a violation. And in April of 2025, Harvard suspended the undergraduate P Solidarity Committee and banned the organization from hosting public events until July due to violations of Harvard's campus use rules. Well before the government's engagement, Harvard had initiated steps to address anti-S on campus, recognizing the seriousness of this issue. Harvard has taken and will continue to take steps to do so in the future. Concurrently with these changes, the President Task Force on Combating Anti-S was formed January 19th of 2024 by President Garber and was charged with identifying the root causes and contributing factors to the bias-based behaviors on campus, evaluating evidence regarding the characteristics and frequencies of these behaviors, and recommending approaches to combat bias and to mitigate its impact on campus. The Harvard Task Force, this is a lot. They're doing a lot, actually. This is quite a bit. I've not really been following the protests in the Harvard world, but this is like a lot of stuff that they are implementing here. The Harvard Task Force released its preliminary recommendations on June 6th of 2024. The Harvard Task Force observed that since October of 2023, Jewish and ICE students have been subject to incidents of shunning, harassment, and intimidation on campus. In response, the Harvard Task Force proposed short-term actionable items, including releasing a statement clarifying Harvard's values, strengthening anti-bullying policies, and fostering constructive dialogue on campus. Harvard has already acted on these recommendations. The Harvard Task Force work is ongoing. It will soon release its full report and detailed recommendations for ongoing reforms to ensure the safety and inclusion of Harvard's Jewish and ICE student populations. Harvard continues to update and enforce its policies and procedures to protect Jewish and I members of the Harvard community while permitting the free and open exchange of ideas. All right. So it sounds like they have a lot of things already put into place. And again, that was the reason why the feds were saying we're going to freeze your money, was because you're not doing anything here. Defendants' actions threatening Harvard's federal research funding. On February 3rd, the DOJ announced the formation of a multi-agency task force to combat anti-S, including representatives from the Department of Education, HHS, and other agencies, led by Senior Counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Leo Terrell. On February 26th of 2025, a news article reported Terrell as saying, quote, "When you see universities start losing millions of dollars in federal funding, you're going to see a change in their behavior." Ooh, that sounds a little threatening to me. I'm going to put that here in the margins. A few days later, Terrell stated in a Fox Business clip he later shared on X, quote, "I've targeted 10 schools." Oh my gosh. He did not just write that. You know, I tell you, you have to go watch V's post on the CASA situation because these people, I just can't. I'm sorry. Here we go. Back in it. Here we go. Here's the 10 schools: Columbia, Harvard, Michigan, UCLA, USC. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take away your funding. All right. We would call that an admission of guilt. These statements echo earlier comments made by Terrell and President Donald J. Trump. President Trump's campaign website touted his plan to reclaim our once great educational institutions from the radical left and Marxist maniacs. Whoa! Including by threatening to take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect. Oh my gosh. By taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments from Harvard and other once respected universities. And prior to Terrell's appointment as senior counsel to the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights and the head of the federal task force, he promised that Harvard will lose much more funding effective January of 2025 because America will no longer fund these kinds of schools. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, tea time. All right, on February 27th of 2025, Harvard received a letter attached as Exhibit D from the federal task force. That letter requested a meeting within 30 days with relevant administrators, faculty, staff members, and any on-campus Jewish stakeholder groups to help the federal task force fully and objectively evaluate the allegations and determine what further action, if any, may be warranted. And this is Exhibit D here. So let's just take a peek at that real quick. Let's flip to the page over here. I gotta keep my... So we have Exhibit D here. So let's take a look. We have already gone through Exhibit A. So we can take a... Here's Exhibit A. That, again, is that April 11th letter. Oh, goodness gracious here, everybody. Okay, Exhibit B was tossed out before, but we really didn't talk about it much. But this was a letter here to... looks like general counsel up here. So her sending this letter to, hold on a second. We represent Harvard University. We're writing a response to your letter. So this is their response letter to the April 11th letter. All right. I don't think I've actually read through this. So because it is so short, I am going to take a minute and read through this, everyone. I probably skipped over it when it was cited earlier in the complaint. All right, so let's take a look at what they responded with here in their letter. So, dear, these people that sent the April 11th letter from the feds, we represent Harvard University. We are writing in response to your letter dated April 11th of 2025 addressed to Dr. Alan Garber, Harvard's president, and Penny Pritzker, oh my gosh, great name, senior fellow of the Harvard Corporation. Harvard's committed to fighting anti-S and other forms of bigotry in its community. Anti-S and discrimination of any kind not only are abhorrent and antithetical to Harvard's values, but also threaten its academic mission. Federal government uses to implore state increase age to age 21. So that's a good question. And that's something to just real as a quick side journey, everyone, here off into the margins. It's not unusual for the federal government to threaten funding when states are not in compliance with certain laws. That's not unusual. For example, the age for drinking, right? So some states were like, we don't want to change it. And Congress was like, you need to change it. And they're like, we don't want to. So they said, well, we will then reduce, I'm not sure what it was exactly, but we'll reduce some kind of money that we send to you. Now for underage, for drinking, I can't remember what it was. But the other one that I use as an example is the seatbelt law. There's a federal seatbelt law. And a lot of states were like, we're not going to do that. That's stupid. And so what Congress did, is they said, we will not be giving you federal highway funds. Now, I'm not sure if those highway funds were also used for the drinking age, but it's a way of negotiating. And it's also done through Congress. It's not done through the executive branch. And that's the big deal here. Like if Congress had come in and passed some laws here to say something is relying on something else, then, we'd be at least following the rules, even if it was, not good. But at this point, it's just the check writer who's like, well, we're not going to give you the check. Like, we have the checks. You've been supposed to get the checks, but we're not going to give you the checks. That's the problem here, because he's blocking an entire piece that's really not his to block, right? So just because there's a checkbook doesn't mean he can withhold money from people, but that's what he's doing. And he's doing it to negotiate what he wants to have out of the executive branch, meaning the executive branch has goals and they're saying, follow our goals, or we're not going to give you the federal funding you have already been approved for, versus Congress saying national seatbelt law for all states, or in the future, your highway funds will be not available. We won't put it into our next appropriations bill. I mean, can you see the pretty stark difference here? Where one is just a process that we smack around all the time over the years and only use it when it's absolutely necessary, versus this guy's like, well, I'm going to not give you a check. Isn't bribery? Yeah, it kind of feels like it, doesn't it? Versus just having Congress do their job. Well, right, exactly. So Congress already has given the money here. So if a threat was to be made, first of all, what it was that they're doing that they're not in compliance with would need to be decided by Congress, not by the executive branch. And then any future appropriations could be negatively affected, not what they've already been promised. So that's why this is so completely bonkers and outside of the Constitution. Right? So, yeah, I mean, you can do it to pressure different states. And I think there was one here. Another example I like to use, and again, I'm not sure exactly what funds, but there is also this kind of federal law against prostitution, right? So not solicitation, that's an inchoate offense, that's a different animal, but prostitution itself, right? All states are like, well, okay, prostitution's illegal, but Nevada was like, no, we don't want it to be illegal. We're going to do what we want to do over here because we're Nevada and it's hot. So the federal government's like, well, we will withhold these funds. And Nevada said, we make so much money from prostitution, we don't need your funds. And so now it's legal in the entire state, except for Reno and Las Vegas. That's my favorite example ever. It's like what the feds want them to do gives them more money than what the feds would give them. So they're like, well, forget about it. And then their state just decided, but we don't want that in Las Vegas and Reno for various reasons. And so, we're going to decide when and where and how it goes about at the state level. Yeah, it's really hot. I mean, it's a dry heat too. Oh my gosh. All right, so there you go. That was our little side journey here, everyone. Let me just skip through the rest of this. As I'm looking through here, I'm noting they're basically just reiterating what they had put into the complaint, saying we've done all of these different things. And one last piece here, kind of that sounding bell at the end. The university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. Accordingly, Harvard will not accept the government's terms as an agreement in principle. So, and then they say, well, we're open to negotiations, but this one's off the table. So that was a solid rejection of that April 11th letter. Drink some tea. I know, I tell you what, I had a vocal injury in college, everybody, and ever since then, I've just got to be a little careful. For some reason, it's just extremely sensitive sometimes, so I have to watch the amount of time I'm going. All right, here we go. So this is Exhibit C, and we were looking for, before I went down the road, Exhibit D. So C is talking about this. Oh no, we got a puzzle, everybody. Here's the puzzle. The puzzle's arrived. Keep your fingers crossed. Are we gonna do it? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh, we got it. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I'm so worried every time. I even have someone on call just in case. I'm like, can you come in and do the puzzle piece if it doesn't work? Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh yeah. I mean, definitely. And there are lots of other places, other creators and people reading through these, and that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. Let me know who they are, because I would love to hang out and listen too. Usually I can fit what I need to within 90 minutes. Sometimes the longer ones that are like last minute can kind of get me, but all right, so here's the Joint Task Force announcement there, and then Exhibit D, which is what we were looking for. I think you explained better. Well, that's the thing. It's kind of hard to explain when someone else is reading, but absolutely possible. I tell you what, Bellicose, hold on, it's Skellicose on YouTube is his name now, who is just, oh my gosh, he's such an amazing creator. And he has helped me several times reading through cases and talking through it. And he does such a great job with that. So everyone needs to go and subscribe to him, by the way, if you're not already subscribed. All right, here we go. So we have the Civil Rights Division Task Force on Combating Anti-S. So this is their February 27th letter here. And I'll just give you a couple of, let me see if I can get that. Oh, I know. I love doing lives with him too. I'm hoping I can spell his name right. Skellicose. Is it on is it on YouTube? Is that what it? Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, Kay, thank you. Everybody look at Kay's comments. There you go. Yes. That's him. Canada elections. Oh dear. Oh, Skellicose, you're here. Hey dude, we were just talking about you. I was trying to tell everybody, you have to go follow him. And they're like, how do you spell his name? I'm like, shoot, I don't know. All right, well, there he is, everybody. He's amazing. You should go follow him. Absolutely follow. And on YouTube too, just in case. So yes, he still does the talk. He just did, is that the compliments? Oh, well, of course. He just did a live the other night. We were listening to Supreme Court arguments, and he does just a great job of breaking down the different takes from the different justices, given their background and the history and how they have decided cases in the past. So it's just a great in-depth way to go and listen and understand what's going on in the Supreme Court. So he does great work, everybody. Great work. Absolutely. And I'm so glad you come and hang out with us sometimes. That's super fun. I think we both, we went live for the immunity decision for Mr. Trump. And I think that day I may have, I think I may have left my body. It was such a crazy decision. I was reading it and I'm like, wait a minute, am I still on Earth? I'm not sure where I am right now. But we made it through. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, we made it through. We were all traumatized by that, but such is how it goes. Oh, all right, here we go. First paragraph, and then we'll go ahead and get back into that complaint again, everyone. So on January 29th, President Trump issued Executive Order 1418-8, additional measures to combat anti-S here, to reaffirm and expand on his Executive Order 13899 and to marshal all available federal resources to root out anti-S from our nation's campuses and classrooms. The order directed federal agencies to use all available and appropriate legal tools, which is like, okay, good for you, to confront an unprecedented wave of vile anti-S discrimination, vandalism, and violence against our citizens, especially in our schools and on our campuses. So that's just kind of a overview of that February letter. So let's jump back here into the complaint again. Doughboy, are you going off the rails? Come on. Oh my goodness. All right. Here we go. So we've seen Exhibit D. We now know what that is. So on February 28th, the task force issued a press release, and we went through announcing its plans to visit 10 university campuses, including Harvard, to gather information about allegations of anti-S incidents as it considers whether remedial action is warranted. In the weeks following DOJ's letter to Harvard requesting a meeting and the federal task force's press release announcing campus visits, Harvard worked with government officials to schedule an on-campus meeting. Campus visit was scheduled for late April of 2025. On March 31st, see how they're setting up the timeline for when that letter came to them. On March 31st of 2025, Harvard received a letter from GSA. The March 31st letter announced a federal review of more than $8.7 billion in federal research grants to Harvard's and its affiliates. Can you believe? $8.7 billion. Yikes. An apparent reference to the Boston area teaching hospitals and their affiliated professional corporations or group medical practices that employ Harvard Medical School faculty, but which are entirely independent entities and are not part of Harvard. So these entities are having their funds frozen too, and they're not even part of Harvard. The March 31st letter linked the review of funding to defendants' allegations about anti-S's on Harvard's campus. Harvard is being investigated for potential infractions and dereliction of duty to curb or combat anti-S harassment. The cover email attached as Exhibit G, transmitting the letter to President Garber, further confirmed this review is being conducted in support of President Trump's executive order, additional measures to combat anti-S. And defendant's press release announcing the review offered even further confirmation. The review of funding is part of an investigation aimed at eliminating anti-S harassment on college campuses. The press release referred to a single ongoing review of Columbia University, which we all know what has gone down with Columbia, right? So they basically conceded to Trump, and then Trump came back and said, well, that this was just an agreement to hear what we wanted you to do. So yikes, we got another lawsuit going there. And linked to other press releases concerning ongoing investigations for potential violations of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act at Columbia. So when you hear that Title VI question going on, we're talking about that discrimination element out of the code. So it's so fascinating. They're in here saying, you're discriminating against somebody based off of religion, race, or whatever, and so we're going to stop your funding. Meanwhile, if you read that letter on April 11th, they're saying if you do anything at all and take race or anything into consideration, you're in violation of our letter. So it's like just absolutely mind-blowing. They're like, well, here, you violated this law, but we're saying you can't comply with this law and still get funding. So it's ridiculous. April 1st, private lunch, Trump proposed canceling all federal funds promised to Harvard. According to an anonymous source, Trump asked, what if we never pay them? Wouldn't that be cool? Oh my gosh, that's just awful. On April 3rd, Harvard's president received another email attached as Exhibit H. The email's subject line was Official Notice Task Force to Combat Anti-S Letter of Demands to Harvard University. The email stated, I'm sending you an official notice of preconditions your institution must comply with in order to be in good standing and continue to be the recipient of federal taxpayer dollars. So you can see how this is getting, it's escalating, right? I mean, they're just sitting around thinking, oh, wouldn't that be funny? I mean, ha, ha, ha. Meanwhile, what has happened is medical research, hospitals, people who are literally in life or death situations, the funding that should have come to them is gone. So it's pretty atrocious, in my opinion. A letter accompanying the email, the April 3rd letter attached as Exhibit 1, described several broad, non-exhaustive areas of reform that the government views as necessary for Harvard to implement to remain a responsible recipient of federal taxpayer dollars. So I will skip at this point down a little bit. We can kind of go through a couple more of the bigger pieces that actually this next piece is it. This is what I was thinking of. They had a set of paragraphs setting out this viewpoint standard that is just absolutely bonkers to me. So here we go. It's right here at the bottom of the page. Let's take a look. Hopefully everybody remembers that April 11th letter. Viewpoint diversity in admissions and hiring. This was bonkers. The university shall commission an external party to audit the student body, faculty, staff, and leadership for viewpoint diversity, such that each department, field, or teaching unit must be individually viewpoint diverse. Harvard must abolish all criteria, preferences, and practices, whether mandatory or optional, throughout its admissions and hiring practices that function as ideological litmus tests. Every department or field found to lack viewpoint diversity must be reformed by hiring a critical mass of new faculty within that department or field who will provide viewpoint diversity. This, to me, to even ask this, even to ask this question, just seems so absolutely ridiculous. Anybody working in any kind of, real world job, if you're coming in and saying, well, this is your business, this is what you do, we donate to you, we're donators, so we want to tell you what you can and cannot do. And if you don't get rid of everybody and hire new people, we're not going to donate to you anymore. Like, that's how ridiculous this is. It's just absolutely just so far out of line here. And then it's too much. So must be reformed, right. So replacing everybody here, every teaching unit found to lack viewpoint diversity must be reformed by admitting a critical mass of students who will provide viewpoint diversity. So they're telling Harvard what students to take, which again is like just so too much. It's too much. Next, governance and leadership reform. And here they're saying Harvard must make meaningful governance reform and restructuring, including empowering tenured professors and senior leadership. And from among the tenured professorate and senior leadership, exclusively those most devoted to the scholarly mission of the university and committed to the changes indicated in this letter. So committed to what the government's required in that April 11th letter, reducing the power held by students and untenured faculty, and reducing the power held by faculty, whether tenured or untenured, and administrators more committed to activism than scholarship, meaning scholar, not scholarships, but scholarship. So you can see here where the direction of this is going, right? And you must hire Skullgirls on YouTube. Yes, you must. You must. Absolutely. I'm telling you, everybody, you got to go follow him. Seriously. Oh, my gosh. If nothing else, you'll get some chuckles. You'll get some good chuckles. And I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. All right. Discontinuation of DEI. The university must immediately shutter all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, offices, committees, positions, and initiatives under whatever name and stop all DEI-based policies, including DEI-based disciplinary or speech control policies under whatever name through structural or personnel changes. So the structure of the college, or again, hiring and firing people, and demonstrate that it's done so to the satisfaction of the federal government. Again, this line just blows my brains here. Let me see if I can find a better way of saying that. This is just crazy. Nope, that's not a good way of saying it either. I'm just gobsmacked. How's that? This is gobsmacking. Because look at that. You have to demonstrate it's been done to the satisfaction of the federal government. Like, what? That's just ridiculous. Right. It's insanity. Right. All right. International admissions reform. The university must reform its recruitment, screening, and admissions of international students to prevent admitting students hostile to the American values and institutions inscribed in the U.S. Constitution and Declaration of Independence. You know, spoiler alert, there are no institutions set out in the Declaration of Independence. All right? I'm just going to put that there. Oh my gosh. Oh, yikes. Student discipline reform and accountability. In the future, funding decisions for student groups or clubs must be made exclusively by a body of university faculty accountable to senior university leadership. In particular, Harvard must end support and recognition of those student groups or clubs that engaged in anti-S activity since October 7th of 2023, including the Harvard P Solidarity Committee, Harvard Graduate Students for P. Again, I can't say these words. I'm going to bring down the live here. Law students for this, Students for Justice in this, and the National Lawyers Guild. And discipline and render ineligible the officers and active members of those student organizations. Right. Transparency and monitoring. So this is the last piece here, and then we'll go over the counts. The university must, to the satisfaction of the federal government, disclose the source and purpose of all foreign funds. This is really bad too. It's all bad, everybody. I keep saying this is really bad, but they're all bad. Cooperate with the federal government in a forensic audit of foreign fund sources. Yikes, and uses, including how the money was used by Harvard, its agents, and third parties acting on Harvard's campus. On a quarterly basis through the end of 2028, the university shall submit to the federal government a report certified for accuracy that documents its progress on the implementation of these reforms. Now, when I first read this, all I could think of was that he was really bitter about his lawsuit in New York, right? You know, his New York civil lawsuit where he's like $500 million. Well, they had to have an overseer or someone come in, and she was a federal judge. I think she's still there, actually. And she's a monitor. And she's asked for these very things in a letter about his businesses. She's like, I need to know where the funds are from. I need to know this information. You need to send it to me on a quarterly basis. So this just reminded me of his New York case. So I'm wondering if he got inspired by that. I doubt it, but you know, wishful thinking. All right, everyone. So we made it through these pieces. Let's just kind of run through the counts, all right, at the very end. So more, again, explanation and support for their arguments. They're talking about the consequences, what's happening to them because of these frozen funds. Again, worth your time to look through if you want to pull this up and take a peek at it yourself. And on page 29, we have the first count, a violation of the First Amendment, Administrative Procedure Act, cause of action. So we've got a First Amendment violation. where a court shall hold unlawful and set aside agency action found to be contrary to constitutional right, power, privilege, or immunity. So they're claiming constitutional violation very first. But all right. Oh, no. Oh, no, I don't know now. I don't know. I've got to save my voice here. Oh my goodness gracious. The dad jokes. They're coming, everybody. Beware. All right, count 2, violation of the First Amendment, equitable cause of action, ultra V. So this is also, here is the law that they're saying is being violated for their second count. Even if the prerequisites of review under the Administrative Procedure Act were not satisfied, federal courts have the equitable power to enjoin unconstitutional actions by state and federal officers. So again, they're setting out and they're saying here, we've got some constitutional questions. Next, so that's count 2. Let's see, count 3 here. And this is one that's being pled in like almost, well, at least half of the cases being filed right now. Count 3, in excess of statutory authority, violations of 42 U.S. Code Section 2000D-1, Administrative Procedure Act, cause of action. So here they're setting out, the APA provides that a court must hold unlawful and set aside final agency action that is in excess of statutory jurisdiction, authority, or limitations, or short of statutory right. So they're saying the executive branch is way outside of the parameters of what they are allowed to do, which is, absolutely true. Count 4, failure to follow defendant's own regulatory procedures. Here, we've got another APA. So the APA requires the court to hold unlawful and set aside final agency actions that is not in accordance with the law or that is without observance of procedures required by the law. So I'm telling you, everybody, this procedural law is absolutely the Achilles heel of this administration, because your procedural laws can be just as important as your substantive law. All right, and I'm seeing the light at the end of the complaint tunnel here. Here we go. It's against the entire administration. It's multi-departmental. Count 5 here, arbitrary and capricious agency action, which is also probably the second most pled piece in all of the complaints. We've got the APA requires the court to hold unlawful and set aside any final agency action that's arbitrary, capricious, an abuse of discretion, or otherwise not in accordance with the law. So that's, again, this arbitrary and capricious is huge. Oh, I know. Oh my gosh, Skelikos, I've been looking through the Loper Bright case because I keep thinking like, wait a minute, what? What? Wait, what? What's going to happen here? I have concerns. Count 6, violation of statutory and constitutional authority. Here, again, the ability to sue to enjoin unconstitutional actions by state and federal officers is the creation of courts of equity and reflects a long history of judicial review of illegal executive action tracing back to England. Accordingly, even if the prerequisites of review under the APA are not satisfied, federal district courts retain the non-statutory power to review agency actions, that is ultra V, and provide equitable relief until Congress precludes that review. Congress has not precluded non-statutory judicial review of this agency action. So again, just kind of setting out all of the pieces. So, and then there's the prayer at the end, which, is old school for what you're asking the court to do in an old school way. And this is what they're asking for, everyone. And then we can do a little Q&A here. Expediting the resolution of this action to prevent further harm to plaintiff, declaring unlawful defendant's freeze order and attendant unconstitutional conditions in the April 3rd and April 11 letters, as well as any termination of freeze or refusal to grant to continue federal funding undertaken pursuant to those agency actions, vacating and setting aside defendant's freeze order and attendant unconstitutional conditions in the April 3rd and April 11 letters, as well as any terminations of and freezes and so forth. So they want them to declare the letters unlawful and vacating any of those orders to freeze their funds, and postponing the effectiveness of the freeze order and attendant unconstitutional conditions here, permanently enjoining defendants, and telling them they can no longer do this. They can't do this again. That's the next piece. And then permanently enjoining defendants from violating plaintiffs' First Amendment rights. I don't know. That's pretty broad. That's a pretty broad one. I don't know if that's going to be granted, but permanently enjoining defendants from terminating, freezing, or refusing to grant or continue any without complying with federal law, including the requirements of Title VI. Well, that's just the law. So they're asking the court to require the government to follow the law. Well, all right. Entering judgment in favor of the plaintiff, awarding plaintiff its reasonable costs and attorney's fees in accordance with the law, including but not limited to 42 U.S. Code Section 1988, and issuing any and all other such relief as the court deems just and proper. So that's the full Harvard complaint, everybody. We had started it on my prior live, and then now we have just finished it up here. So what are our thoughts? We have 6 counts total here. First Amendment violations, constitutional law violations, and oh my goodness gracious. Oh, Shadow, that's so sweet. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love it. I just love it. Yeah, so what are our thoughts? What are we thinking? It was pretty, it was a pretty well written complaint. I expected nothing less. And again, to remind everybody of who is on the Harvard team here, we've got William Burke here and Robert Herr, which you may have heard of his name as well before. And then of course all of these others. All the other people we don't know are all involved over there. Is there a definition of viewpoint diversity? Not legally that I have found. It seems like that term is just kind of a term of like a colloquial term people are starting to use. But as far as a legal case, no, I don't have one. I suppose we could look it up. We could look up in Black's Law. Do you think it might be in there? Okay, here we go. Let's look it up in my little, here we go. I'm sure everybody annotates their Black laws, right? Okay, what is it? Viewpoint? Hold on again. Sorry, everybody. Disco cat. Okay, viewpoint diversity. Yeah, let's just look it up real quick. See if it's in here. All right, here we go. If it is, that would be amazing. Nope, it's not. So we don't have it. Not since law school. I know. Usually I use just, we go online, but sometimes I think it's good to have for the live so I can pull up different words since I got all my new model rules. Oh, yeah, so this is the Black's Law Dictionary. I think they're like in the 12th edition now. But this is the 6th, and I figured, I don't care. I don't care if a few words are missing. I really liked just the size of it. So I got just a new batch of legal books, and I'm so excited about it. So I had to tab those. I didn't get my other books tabbed yet, but I have our new Rules of Civil Procedure. I just got that today. I know, everybody. This is like my unboxing. Because I'm a dork. Rules of Criminal Procedure for 2025, and then my evidence rules. So, oh, I love it. Oh, it's not that expensive. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it wasn't too expensive. I'm trying to remember. I don't know, maybe $20. I mean, maybe less. I'm not saying $20 isn't expensive, though. Let me just clear that up right now. In this economy, we need that list. I'll just set them out here. So, right, these are my books I always like to have here on my table. And then I have my model rules of professional conduct over here. And then, your constitution of choice. Look on the back. Does it say it on here? Oh no. Is it in code? I'm not sure. Maybe on the side. I don't know. They didn't come from China. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. Ah. Oh wow. Look for the first letters. I don't know. It can't. Okay. Is it? Okay, we can see the model rules book again. Sure. Let me hold each one up again. Here we go. So these are the federal rules of criminal procedure. And again, every state has their own rules, right? And then we have the federal rules of civil procedure, which are actually really important right now with all of this crazy restraining orders and injunctions going on. These rules of civil procedure are important along with the discovery rules. And I lost the other one. I took it to a park and I think I left it at the park. And then federal rules of evidence here. I don't think any changes were made from 2024. And then this is my model rules of professional conduct. And this is 2020, but they do a really good job of updating them online. So I just kind of write in if they're updated. I just write it in. And then Constitution and Black's Law here. So there you go. If you are interested. Oh my gosh, if you're interested in that. I tell you what, Florence, that's kind of the word on the street. Now, sometimes the word on the street's not accurate. Like if they're saying TikTok's going to go dark. Sometimes that's not accurate, but sometimes it is. And I've heard a lot of lawyers, a lot of attorneys talking about this kind of, in the side halls and saying, I bet Roberts is like really reconsidering what he has done and some of the other justices. And I think that's a really good question. I think they do have some, I guess, a moment pause to think back and maybe reassess the situation. But also in the moment, like they went so hard on this like Ivy, like tower, pish posh, we're the most important interpreters of this language for all time. Like it just got so hoity-toity. Their egos were so enormous that they could not recognize the practical, what would happen, what would actually happen, the repercussions. And I think that happens to them many times. And I think this is another big example. So put your book list up somewhere. Oh, sure, I could do that. Absolutely. I think the last time I put it up was when, oh my gosh, the New York trial. What was her name? What's that girl's name that's got what was her name? Oh my gosh. She didn't know how to admit evidence into court. She was his attorney for a while and she didn't know. What was her name? I can't remember. She really loud lady. Anyway, is it Hava? Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, everybody. All right, you knew who I was talking about. I didn't want to say the one with the really, whatevers, but I can't remember even. I did a whole video explaining what all of these books were to her, and I sent it to her, and I was like, here you go. I know you're in the middle of trial, but that could be helpful for you. Oh my goodness gracious. That was so fun. Habba-dabba-doo. Oh my goodness. Yes. Right. The really loud habba-dabba. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wonder if I heard that she was like the U.S. attorney for New Jersey. Is she still out there? Oh my gosh. I got to double check. We forgot about her. That's the thing, though. Those are the sleeper agents that get you. Like, oh, we haven't heard from her in a while. Next thing you know, she's like in front of the Supreme Court making some kind of an argument. Oh, she is. She's still there. Oh, no. That was supposed to be temporary. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness gracious. Right. Well, and she had settled a lawsuit, too. She had a very serious lawsuit against her. going on, and apparently her law license was okay. I'm not sure if anyone filed, but did she fail to request a jury? Oh my gosh, everyone, memory lane. Who remembers when we had to talk about was the box checked or was it not checked? And I think I did a post and I was like, there's no box. It got so many comments. People are like, what do you mean there wasn't a box? I'm like, there's no box, everybody. There's no box. Oh my gosh. Oh, good times, good times. We have lots of memories, everyone. We have lots of memories. That's all right. It's okay to have memories, even if the dumpster's on fire. It's okay. In the before times. Yes. Although, quite frankly, I think there's something in the air. And I've said this before. I think we're at the top of the roller coaster right before it starts going down the hill. I think we're about there. I would think the next filing that we see out of the Garcia or the JGG case, I think we're going to see something going down here pretty quick. I miss the before time, so do I. Oh, I do too. I do too. But I think some things are going to take a turn here. I'm not sure if it's going to get worse, but I think there's some change coming. So, new executive order that was published today. Okay, sure. Yeah, the last ones I saw had to do with, let's see, there was some like equality language they were trying to take out of, their business. I certify him as well, yes, I would absolutely agree with that. I think competency test needs to be done, like a legal one, not like one your friends give you. Like, is this a card? No. What about this? No. Contempt charges, absolutely. I see that as well. Something else too that I think is really interesting, in all honesty, and looking back at my political science background, I can't help but feel, and especially with everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks with the economy, I can't help but feel like this could very well be the administration where, for the first time, the United States has to figure out how to remove a president, right? I really do think this will be a trailblazing road for what happens when a president is just out of control. So I think that will, legal machine, no! She had some troubles. I tell you. She is not a trial lawyer, clearly. Can you scooch the red book down? This one? Scooch this one? Sorry, everybody. I'm like, here we go. Here's one. Here's two. We'll do it like a vision test. Here's three. Yeah, I mean, I think we had to get to a point where the entire, basically 85% of the United States was like, wow, we got to get rid of somebody. And we've never had that situation where we've really needed to do that before. But I think we're going to be setting the standard through this administration. That's my guess. So the rules of, I missed that one. The rules of professional conduct. These are the ABA, American Bar Association ethics rules in here. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, A or B. Oh my gosh. Yes. Is he arrestable? I don't know. I mean, legally, in a legal academic way, yes. But in a practical, will it really happen way? Unsure. In 1802, let me think. 1802, you're going to have to narrow it down. There's a lot going on there. Do you think the GOP will finally say enough is enough? I don't think the party will, but I think what's going to happen is people are going to start, they're going to burn out, quite frankly. It's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable to work at this level. And they have to run again, right? There's always the Hague. True. And we have 2 cases against Mr. Trump's administration in the United States Court of International Trade. So we already have 2 cases. That's a United States court, don't get me wrong, but it's pulling in that international element to it. So I think that's very interesting as well. Yeah. Yeah, and I just don't have, I don't have any more of that The constituents. I know there's cracks. Yeah. And there's a lot of cracks and they're coming, but they're slow, right? They're just slow. Yes, indeed. The Newsom case as well. Yep. There's a lot going on. I think we've got 6 tariff cases now, 6 separate tariffs lawsuits, and 2 are in the International Trade Court. Yes, diversity of viewpoint. Again, I really don't know what that is. Let me write that down real quick so I don't forget it, because I will. Okay. Because I think that, again, is just a term like borders are that they're just making up from the administration. So with that, I know. Married women to have a husband's signature. No. And I've done a whole post on that. I've done 2 posts on that. So if anyone's worried about married women needing their husbands to sign stuff, go take a look at my previous posts. I've posted all about that. I just reposted on the SAFE Act. And then I did go into women's financial situations regarding that. So to just clear it all up so you can feel more comfortable about that. So I best sign off, everybody. I'll be over on the tube tomorrow about the same time if you want to come and hang out over there. But have a great night, everybody. Take care, and thank you so much for joining me.